Hi friends, Ray Lutz with Citizens Oversight. This video will teach you a little bit about the Foswiki free open source wiki platform, which we use at Citizens Oversight in our Copswiki website. I'm going to basically giving you instructions for a really first-time beginner with this type of a platform. First step you need to do is to create a username, and to do that you'll need to log in. It will prompt you to log in anytime you're trying to edit a page. Now, in big picture terms, what this site is like is a whole bunch of individual pages, just like any website, but these they call topics, and the topics are all editable by anyone who has rights to do so. And so it is a shared platform where we can organize things, unlike platforms such as Facebook or other social media sites where you really can't organize things very well. It's just a stream of posts, and there's no real way to organize those posts, to link to them, to really get something that will last for a period of time in there at all. So we like to use Facebook and other social media sites, but they're just not the right kind of platform for running projects like this. So the first step is, this is the front of the Citizens Oversight website, and one of the first things I will probably send you to is a thing called Basic Instructions. If I will, you say, gee, I want to get involved, and I'll probably send you to the Basic Instructions page, which is down here amongst some other instructions. Basic Instructions tells you how to register, how to set up your wiki name. Now, wiki words or wiki names, basically this idea of a wiki word on this website is that it's a word like this, Raymond Lutz, with an embedded uppercase letter in it with no spaces in between. So it has to be one word with embedded. Some people call it camel case. Here they just call them wiki words. When you establish your name like Raymond Lutz, then it also, when you register, you go to the Register Now page. You register with your name, such as Fred Smith. It would be, capital F-R-E-D, capital S-M-I-T-H with no space. And then you will get your own little page, if you will, in what they're unfortunately calling the main web. The main web actually should be called the user's web, but historically it's still called main web. We have users of the website. When you log in, you get your username, okay, and then you will be added to this list, but you can't edit anything until I explicitly put you in the approved users group, and that's to avoid spam robots, which most of these users you see here are spam robots logging in and setting up a basic username intending to spam the site, but they can't do anything unless I approve them. So you need to email to me at raylutz@citizensoversight.org and request that I give you editing rights, and I will give them to you. But I have to know who you are and so forth. You can't just be a spammer to do this. And usually, unfortunately, they are spam robots that are trying to put in Google, Google spam robots, I call them, because they're trying to put links in so they can bump up their Google website rating. Once you get your approved, then you can start editing the site on various pages. Now, not all the site will be editable by you with just the approved user list rating, but most of it will be. And what I'm going to do now is, once you're approved, then you can edit pages. And our goal here today is to give you some idea of how pages are edited. Previously, I set up a page, another sample, but what you would do is, to start a page, is you would just do another sample like this and search for it. It would come back with, gee, I can't find it, if it is indeed let's say another sampler, which is not going to find. This is going to try to find this in the Sandbox Web. So we have the main word here, and the second word in the URL is the web. and then the name of the topic, which is web home. So the web are a concept where you have different namespaces where the names don't have to be, they can be the same in different spaces and refer to a different topic. But what we found is that it's better to just use mainly one web, we call it the common web, unless you're doing something special. But in general, we've kind of standardized that way. In the Sandbox Web, these are just play around topics just to learn things, to make sure you can see how it works. So here I looked for another sampler. You couldn't find it. Then down here you can say create the topic if you want to create it, and it would create it in the Sandbox Web. Well, we just did that earlier in a previous tutorial that I had to cut off prematurely. And I started showing here a few of the basics. And let's take a look at it. Now, there's two ways to edit this. When you first create a new topic, you'll be getting into what they call WYSIWYG mode. They have that as the default edit mode. When you press this edit button up here or that one there, you go into WYSIWYG mode. So let's try that. When you do that, you see pretty much exactly what it's going to come out to be. And then you have these control bars such as bold, italic. So if I right here, if I bold this word, choose that word right there and say I want to bold it. And let's choose a different word. Let's choose this whole string right here. And let's say we want to italicize that. All right, so now you see bold and italics. Now let's save that. And now you see when you actually people see it, it comes out like this. Now this is actually interesting because this came out in with the underscores around it, which is the way it's supposed to be done when you use raw mode. So that's actually sort of a mistake of what it did there. The reason is because it's got more than one that wrapped around and it made one what looked like one sentence to us, one paragraph in that other mode, but in essence it is, these underscores don't work unless it's all on one line. But if you want to do italicize, you put an underscore before and after the word, and you put a star, you see, before and after it for bolding. To get in more help on this, you go into this help mode here. It says bold, stars around it. Now let's do some other things. Let's put in a bullet list. This is now what is called wiki text, or this is actually what's in the file. This sort of simplistic formatting. You go 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, put a star in, and then this is the first line of the bullets. All right, if I can spell. All right, now we're just going to say line 2, like that. Now if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's indenting twice. Line 2.1, you know, line 2.2, and so forth. This is indented. Let's do 1, 2, 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Line. So just to keep track, these numbers are just for us. 2.2.1. Line 2.2.2. Now go back up. Line 3. Now that'd be line 2.3. 1, 2, 3. Now let's go back to line 3. Okay, so I've got some indentation there. Let's check that out. You can just save it and then look at it in a second here. Okay, so you see here's indented. Here's it correctly italicized. So if you put if you have a whole bunch of text, go back into, this is the edit wiki text. This is the editing and what some people call raw mode, which is actually what's in the file. And then you can add these things into raw mode to do things. Instead of clicking on the little B to make something bold, you put stars around it. And that's how it looks in the file. And if you're in WYSIWYG mode, it actually does this in the file. It puts stars around it. It puts underscores. So if you know what you're doing, it's sometimes easier to use it in this way. Now, if you don't want a numbered list, 1, 2, 3, you just start doing numbers. And you don't have to do sequential numbers. It's going to take care of that for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll do some more just for fun. You can do the numbers if you want. Like if you accidentally you had it on 2. Let's say 5. It's not going to turn out that way. Go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do one more up to 9. All right. Do another one. All right. Now back to just 3. Like that. Okay. There's a list that's a numbered list. See how it turns out. Way you'd want it to be. 1, 2, 3. These are sequential. Those are sequential. And then you see it continued. 4, 5. So that is the basic of putting in unnumbered and numbered lists of things. Let's put in some headings. Headings are something you'll use commonly. One common thing that's used is as a line. 1, 2, 3, 4. You just put up to 4 or more. You can put a lot more if you want, so that it looks like a real line. Anything more than 4 is going to be a line all the way across the page, a horizontal line. And then headings. So if you say 1, 2, 3, and then a star, this is heading 1. Now the words heading 1 doesn't mean anything. I'm just putting that in. And then this is the paragraph you see below it. Now if I don't put a gap, that's all one paragraph. As soon as I put a space, a blank line, then it starts another paragraph. Now if I put 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, this is heading 2. Paragraphs. You don't have to have them, but I'm just as an example. What does it do with it? 1, 2, 3. Heading 3. Got to keep them together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Heading 4. Now let's see how that looks. This is actually when I press save, it's saving it up to the website so anybody else could see it. See, heading 1 is a nice big heading. Heading 2 is next one. 3 and 4 is smaller. So you can easily organize things on the page that way. Now let's go on. Let's see the next thing that we want to show you. We'll go back into wiki mode here. Headings, italic, I already talked about. Now site links. Very simple way you do this is if you put in a link to something. Like a full link, www. It doesn't have to be www, but it has to start with http://. Then you put in, like, let's say, citizens oversight. Now, that is not a link in terms of HTML mode. To get it in HTML, you have to say href equals this. This would make a link too. This is actually, you can embed HTML in here if you know it. And then you can say link. And then end, this is an anchor, A for anchor. And then this is the reference to the link. And then the word link. That's normal HTML. Now here you can get it set up with just the link, or you use like this, double bracket, take the URL here, put it in, end bracket, and then link here. Now this top one is, in order to make that in HTML, you'd have to do this and put the link in there. To get it to be a link, you have to have this stuff. But it automatically searches for and will automatically link anything that it finds of that nature. So let's take a look at what happened there. Okay, see now here is, that's hot. And where's it going? You look down here in this area to see where it goes. It goes citizens oversight. This link goes to citizens oversight. This link goes to, these are all, this is effectively the same as that, except it uses the syntax that is used here, so you don't, it's a little bit easier syntax. You don't have to put all of this href. You just put in the double brackets. So it makes it a little bit more readable. So we're not going to be using the regular HTML here. All right, now those are links. You can have external links like I showed here. or you can do internal links. Now, if you put a link in which is mixed case, like sample link, then we save that. Now, notice what happens. That is a sample link. It doesn't go anywhere because there's no place for it to go yet. But if we click on it, it'll make a new page. This is a new page now. And what is it called? Sample link. I'm going to go over to wiki text mode because that's what we're teaching here. It starts with this thing which says who's doing it and when. Now at the very top of most pages I put a header 1 and then the keyword topic. What it puts in is its own name right there so that you never have to try to get that right. That's going to be the name. If you ever change it, it's going to travel with it, the name of this topic. And then here is an example of a page started by defining a wiki word link. Save. So here we have, this is the page. I click on that, I come back to where I am because that's where we are. Here's an example of a page started with it. So that's the page we're at. Notice it's underneath the breadcrumbs up here. It's underneath another sample. That's naturally the way it is, and that's part of the Sandbox Web. It isn't actually in, this is just, it was created from this, and so it defaults to be breadcrumbs. You go this way. You don't have to have it be a subsidiary of that. So let's go back to another sample. Now look at that link. Now it's hot. It doesn't, we're not going to create it. I click it, I go over to sample link. So it is easy to keep your pages all hooked together with this because when you want to create a new page, then you're just going to define sample link and then go on. Generally though, we don't usually make pages that way. It turns out we use a little bit more structured format in the website itself, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, and that'll be in the next tutorial. Let's go on. You can do monospaced and paragraphs with a blank line. But you can also space paragraphs, and I find this is, at least in this version of this, it's better to use the P sometimes. So basically, if you want to say, here is some code, and you want to put the code in monospace, like for I, let's say $I equals, let me put an I, equals 0, $I less than limit, colon, I plus plus. So this is a common piece of code. Now notice I'm putting equal signs around it. I don't think it'll get confused with that equal sign, but maybe it will. Let's see. Because that is not at the end of something there. Notice what it did here. It put all of that in a fixed font so that it's easy to see that that is the code. All right, that's the basics of formatting. So what did we cover here? We covered how to start a topic just by putting a word in and trying to jump to it. It'll create it. Creating paragraphs by spacing them that way. Let me do one more thing, because I'm finding that when you copy and paste these into another, like an email, paragraphs don't work unless you are doing, like you have your paragraphs here, the regular ones, and you are going to do a blank line there. Maybe this is something that can be fixed through some template or something. But basically, it works better for cutting and pasting if you do put the P in angle brackets, which is the HTML method for doing a paragraph. It's going to look the same here. These are just going to be spaced by one line, but when you cut and paste this into another, like an email program, it just seems to work better. Now I'm going to, next thing, this is where I'm going to sort of show you a little bit more of the true power of this platform. So far we've just been putting in text with a little bit of formatting. Let's make a table. So we'll start, the way you make tables is with vertical bars, and if you put the bold the top, the first line, then it's going to be in a special format. So let's say we have name and then age and what else should we have? Occupation. Okay, let's say we have a little list of people, and here we want Fred. Now normally if you put 2 spaces, it's going on each side, it's going to center it. Like if I put 2 spaces on each side. You don't have to line these up, they'll get lined up later, but you can if you want. Age, let's say 64, and the occupation is retired. Alright, and then down here we say Jane, and she's 32, half as old. Now you can do this, you can put it, if you put it to the left, it's going to wind up being on the left. She's going to be a doctor. Okay. And then a Jim. Now if you put the number on the other end, 25. Firefighter. Right. And let's see, that's enough. Okay, we have 3 there. That's enough to show you a few things. Now, first of all, I wanted to show you that you can put these to the sides here and they're going to go in that direction. Let's save and see what our table looks like. So you can see it makes a nice little table. And the nice thing about this table, you can see how we put our numbers. We can have it be left justified or right justified based on where we put it next to the other bar. And essentially, nice thing about this is you can sort, if you click on one of these, then it's going to sort it by age, or you can do it the opposite way. You click age again, it's going to sort descending age. You want to sort by name, then you click on name, and the names are sorted in ascending order or descending order. And that's kind of tricky. You know, it'd be sort of hard to do that if you wanted to just make a table that did this. So that's the basic of how you might format within a topic. Now, many of the topics that are in the website have an additional thing called a form at the bottom of them. Let's take a look over on the common web. And here's a situation here where we have a thing called news media, and this is something that you can actually help maintain by adding news media. The reason we use this platform is because we found that we were getting we wanted to refer to and collect a lot of things on the internet and organize them, no matter where those things were. So if you are in YouTube and you want to organize your videos, that's fine. As long as you're within YouTube, you can organize them into a channel. You can't organize YouTube's and Facebook streams inside YouTube because you have to turn them into a YouTube. So you can't organize everything. And when the videos first started, we didn't really have YouTube's could only be about 10 minutes. And we had to start with Google Video, which is now obsolete. And so we had to have links to different places. It was better for us to have one topic and be able to collect those links and keep our organization. And then when we had to move the videos around to different platforms, then our organization would remain the same. And we can have one video in the same 2 different places, like the same event. And we might have it on a Facebook live stream and on a YouTube. And so we want to be able to point to both of those, but have it organized under one topic. Each one of these items here is what we call a media. The media can be just about anything, but usually it's one or two that refer to the same thing, kind of either documents, news articles, videos, what have you. Can be just about anything. And you can see this is a list here of the videos that have been, or not just videos, but the news media that has been collected. And we say news media, but it's really just any kind of media that we want. And so here is an example, a press release. I click on it. It kind of tells you it's a PDF by the little symbols over here. And then we have the PDF right in the topic, so you can read it. And the PDF is shown right there. At the bottom of this, though, is a form. It's a media form, we call it. But this is defined. It can be whatever form you want if you make your own. And then you can have fields like title, and then you fill that in with what the title is. And then you can refer to that field from other places, such as, and when we make our list, let's go back a level up to this list. You see, this is the title, which actually is harvested from that form. Who made it and who published it, the date. Well, what's on this page? This page, news media, is not really, we don't come in here and edit all this stuff. This is dynamically created. Let's take a look at it. This is view wiki text. That lets us see what's on the page. We just have a little macro here that says all media. Link %, word, %. It means go and look up the all media definition, which we've defined ourselves. The definition of that turns out what we do is we define all these in one place. I'll tell you what, I'm going to end this video now, or right around now, because we've covered the basic formatting, and now I'm about to get into a little bit more systematic, a little bit higher level about how to deal with this list of media. But in general, I just want to continue to finish pointing out here that any one of these items here, see, this list is not really here. It's automatically whenever you view the page, or when you say rebuild the page here, it goes out, looks over in the common web for everything that has a media form attached to it, those fields at the bottom that I pointed out, and then for each one of those pulls out the fields that are of interest, puts them into a string, then sorts it according to reverse date order, and then puts it in this list with the various icons. That's what it does dynamically. That's what it just did. It went out and resorted all of these and found them all. We're using the power of the computer to help us keep everything organized. This is all just organized by just the date when it was put in there. But any one of these has some other keywords. This is like for a user here I'm talking about. See some other words. There's election integrity. There's an election audit lawsuit a lot of people have been interested in right now. And in the election lawsuit, you see there's articles that are related to this. These articles, this media, whether it be videos and so forth, these are all things which relate to the audit lawsuit. And these are collected again in reverse date order. These are articles submitted. And again, they're not really there. Those are just harvested every time you look at this topic from that database of news media. And then it's populated here based on that keyword, which is essentially the name of this topic, election, audit, lawsuit. Now this is a special type of topic. This is a topic which we call a project. And it has a special project form attached to it. Election, audit, lawsuit, the project description, okay, and so forth. It has all these fields that you can populate. And then you can attach files to this. In this case, we have this set of, well, a few pictures that should show up there, and I don't know why they're not. We have pictures shown here, and they're supposed to automatically be shown at this location. Strange that they're not being shown here. You're supposed to attach your images and they appear at this in this spot. So let's just see. We can look at the view wiki text. That means you're not going to be editing it. You're just going to view it, and you can see what's in there. Image gallery. It looks like it's set to go on, set to work, and for some reason, and fairly weird that that's not working, but it's supposed to. It's supposed to show the pictures right there. So we'll have to look into that. Anyway, that is, now to get back, review the topic to see what the topic looks like. And maybe I need to rebuild the page. Let's see if rebuilding it will get those pictures to show up. I think that's the issue. See, there they are. Now if you click on one of these, you get a nice little slideshow. And that's a bit of a problem that you have to have just rebuilt the page to be able to get this. That rebuild the page, really you only need that if you have a massive page. This is a little bit of a caching thing so that the page will come up really quickly, especially if it's hit on a lot by a lot of people. But unfortunately the images don't show up unless you just built it. Now they'll show up here, like here's an image that's placed in, you attach the image to it and it'll automatically embed it into the article, into the project form. Each project, in this case, this is a sub-project of election integrity. If you go to election integrity, and you'll see there that we have a bunch of sub-projects, and one of them is the election audit lawsuit. Go back here. Now there's supposed to be a description in there because we had it, and that's probably because this page needs to be rebuilt. That will rebuild the page automatically every now and then. But if you I just edited this recently, so now you see it did show up here. The election integrity has been a project for a number of years, and this is one of the newer hot projects that are just started. Okay, that'll end this video. Again, Ray Lutz with Citizens Oversight. It gave you the basics of how to log in and edit pages using the syntax that they use. I didn't really go into the WYSIWYG format because that's somewhat self-explanatory. I do like to stay. Here's one of the things that's kind of important to know. Before I conclude, let me just show you this because it's very interesting. If you look at we did the sample topic, another sample in the Sandbox Web. At the bottom are the revisions. There's a full history of what happened, who edited this, and when, and what does it look like. If we look at the first version, we just had the thing that we started with just a few paragraphs. And then I edited it again, and then we went on to version number 2. And then you can see what that looks like. That's a full-fledged version. Now you keep, each one of these topics has a full history of everything that's happened to it for all time. And you can go back to any previous version that you might want to look at. The main page here, we'll see what version it's on. 242. We've had 242 versions, and the entire history is kept on the website. So throughout all time, it only shows a few last ones here. But that top page, in terms of anything that did happen to it, actually on the page, things that are actually, not the things that are dynamically rendered onto the page based on a search string or something, bringing in other information, but actually the text that's on the page, that's what it is archiving. And the key thing here is that the reason that that sort of plain text file is really important is because it gives us a way to compare fairly simply the actual content of these files. And that's why the WYSIWYG mode, if you go into the regular edit mode and you edit a page, it's actually going to try to resolve it into that basic wiki syntax versus trying to use a whole bunch of HTML, which you could use many different combinations of HTML and get the same look, whereas that simple syntax is fewer variations to get the same look, and therefore you can have the pages are not going to have versions change without really having the content change. That's sort of the important part of this sort of a website. Now, this is not as common a platform as other people use, such as say WordPress or Facebook and the others, but this gives us the flexibility to collaborate with a lot of people working on the same things to try to organize them. And those other platforms really are not oriented in that fashion. Ray Lutz, Citizens Oversight, thank you for listening.